A complete universal history of the several empires, kingdoms, states, and etc. throughout the known world, containing an account of the most remarkable transactions of their respective reigning monarchs, etc., with their polities, ecclesiastical, civil, and military. Also a description of the arts and sciences, trade and manufactures of the different nations, together with the natural history of each country, whereupon will be comprised of the vegetable, animal, and mineral productions that are remarkably curious, either natural or artificial. So this is going to be with annotation and commentary, because the print on this is quite bad, so it's also very hard to read as far as dialect. So, as you can see, it was made in 1732, printed by Benjamin Badham in Popping's Court, by Mr. Stourgeon in London. Fleet Street, who knows where that is. A prefatory introduction to the reader. So this is from archive.org. I will provide the link in the description wherever I post this. And so this, let's see here, this is the beginning. The knowledge of foreign countries is certainly the best academy for the enlarging, cultivating, and enriching the minds of men, especially the younger sort, who, being generally confined by education and customs at home, which few ever surmount, and being limited to a narrow sphere of thought, are frequently puffed up and choked for want of a free air and large extensive prospect. So it's just, I guess, just explaining how young people are just being used, I guess. So these annotations are to really break down what the author is saying, because it's really interesting to know what they're trying to portray, especially in those time periods, how it differs now, how we try to portray in our, I guess, our documents. So, I mean, this was found in archives, so it's open to the public. Hence, it is so that many become unfit for public business or even common conversation, and thereby frustrate the chief end and design of education, frequently falling into many disorders upon every little contradiction, and consequently boggle at everything that lies out of their way of thinking. So I guess it's just, education is just really specialized, I guess, and to get one way of thinking that's like someone takes a long time, because to officially get a conclusive thought on something, you have to go through so many schools of education and schools of anthropology, archaeology, I don't know, foreign affairs. You have to have, special, even small stuff like permits and whatnot. So this terraqueous globe we inhabit may justly be compared to a true and perfect mirror, in which may be distinctly seen by delightful phenomena of nature with the mysterious arts of government. I don't know what kind of imagery that's supposed to conjure, but every climate affording new scenes wherein our readers may observe that the harmony of the universe in a wonderful variety. Well, I mean, I guess that's what history is all about, is just kind of seeing everything and learning new things and seeing new, it's like kind of like seeing over the mountain, you get to the top of the hill and you see, it's not what's at the top of the mountain, but the other side of the mountain. right? I don't know. There are indeed some people that amuse themselves with what passes daily before their eyes, but are little affected with the affairs of the remote parts of the world. It is grown a maxim with others to reject all foreign relations of things for fables. These values themselves upon their incredulity and are, I don't know what that word is, honestly. I don't use that word, and I've never heard anybody use that word. And are such strict friends of truth that they never acknowledge any themselves. Well, I guess we're gonna have to figure out what this word means. Alright. Are such strict friends of truth that they never acknowledge any themselves. I guess this is saying people are dogmatic, pretty much. I think that's what this is trying to say. 'Tis grown a maxim with others to reject all foreign relations of things for fables. Like, is this... I guess they're just going to break it down in this book more so, and you're kind of going to see more of the perspective of the author, I guess, as you write it, so... I guess it's just kind of walking into like a TED Talk and being like, oh, what's going on here? Who's this guy? And you kind of got to sit down for a minute while he explains himself, I guess. On the other hand, there are persons that run directly counter to those before recited, who chiefly inquire after wonders. Like me, for instance, or many of us who decided to look deeper into stuff and are only satisfied with whatever raises their administration. So some of these words right here, you'll see it looks like an F. Stu's typewriter, or whoever printed this in London, decided to use this, and this could be consistent with a particular print or a printer company, maybe manufacturer. That's how they were done back then. I've seen a couple other books on archive like this as well. So yeah, basically they think all that is genuine and natural must of course be flat and insipid. Sorry about that. People like to drive their cars really loud. And for want of being roused up with astonishing adventures and continual prodigies, drop asleep over the best penned relations of the most celebrated historians. Okay, let's kind of like break this down. They think all that is genuine and natural must of course be flat and insipid, and for want of being roused up with astonishing adventures and continual prodigies. Yeah, I mean, like, you kind of gotta explore things yourself, but it's kind of dangerous nowadays, not only because of, like, just, like, military occupation and whatnot, and, yeah, it's just dangerous, and, like, survival-wise, especially going in caves. You're not able to forage inside caves. You go inside, like, a deep cave, like, you're only gonna find mushrooms, and I ain't gonna cook it deep inside that cave, so I don't think it's necessarily possible for humans to go inside caves, so I guess this whole paragraph was just kind of saying most of historians kind of like to stick with what they kind of like all agree upon when they account history, and there's probably some sort of taboo nature among that agreement, I'd say. The author of the ensuing sheets is not insensible that the politer part of mankind will expect something therein more than has hitherto appeared, and therefore, as the nature of the work requires, an uncommon method will be taken to distinguish it from any of the performances of this kind. He therefore thinks it's just and necessary to introduce this large undertaking with an account of the order, and manner of proceeding, which will run through every branch of this history, discarding at the same time all obsolete, fictitious, and romantic accounts, as well as the many inconsistent and idle relations of some of our modern authors as being an evil tendency to history itself, as well as the I have no, see, this is why I added the annotation and whatnot, because I don't know what this word is. Readers. There, it looks like an L, sorry, I wanted to say like relators, but I'm like, sorry. As well as to the readers there. So I guess just keep an open mind. Previous, therefore, to what is above remarked, the author thinks fit, that's not sit, that's fit, to apprise the public that he has not only spent a great part of his life in studying history, but has also gone through the numerous difficulties that attend traveling into the remotest parts of the world, which has certainly enabled him to justify or condemn what other authors have laid down as authentic, with a K. You put that K there. As well as to furnish, I'm assuming that word, mankind with a detail of the farther improvements that have made both abroad and at home, as well as increased upon us both in age and knowledge. Yeah, I totally agree with this statement. I mean, this author probably has a lot of knowledge, as we can see in this book. Excuse me. I gotta stretch. Let's see, where was I? According, therefore, to the something custom of several historians that have gone before me, I intend to begin the easing piece with the description of the Eastern nation, okay, and travel westward with that glorious planet, the sun, the immense fountain of heat, light, and fire, and energy, and work, so that when this work is completed, the judicious reader may take a survey, which many of people who don't read this, or maybe hear my lecture, read annotation commentary, will not, well, actually, they will be a judicious reader, and those who actually do read this themselves are probably not a judicious reader. But, well, maybe not a prejudiced reader, may take a survey of various dominions throughout the spacious universe, even sitting at home in his closet, and converse with the remotest nations. I don't know if I read that right. Without incurring any manner of, I'm going to say that word is risk or peril, which travelers are momentarily exposed to. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, try traveling, try climbing a mountain. Try climbing a granite rock mountain. Very dangerous. You have to, I would say you have to be trained or with somebody who's very, very trained. And accidents can happen no matter what. I mean, look at Kobe Bryant, for instance. I mean, just look at how dangerous some not even climbing a rock, but taking a helicopter to get over a mountain, rather. I mean, there's always risk and peril involved that the travelers are momentarily exposed to, wherein he may trace, as it were, the footsteps of that infinite contriver of omniscient architect. Now, I have no idea what the footsteps, that infinite contriver of omniscient architect. And I'm assuming they're referring to like maybe ancient ruins or maybe really old places. I think that may be the case if he's talking about the places where it's pretty hard to get to. Because, I mean, generally speaking, like, it's pretty hard to get to a place, then it's pretty hard to live there, maybe. Or maybe you have to travel that whole distance to get the other side where it's more safe. Take Central Africa, for instance. There's really, really dense malaria zones that you can't really travel through. It blocks off nations, especially, well, you can say undeveloped nations, but in more ancient times, it was not necessarily undeveloped, but they just didn't have the technology. So I guess that can be undeveloped, or however you want to say it, I guess. However, the judicious reader may take the survey of so wherein are so wonderfully displayed an infinity of characteristics that denominate the supreme being of beings, its almighty author. I don't know if that was poetry. Could be. Pretty sure it is. This performance was not at first designed to make its appearance in public after this manner, but true it is that such are the difficulties that authors are laid under by a set of people who have embodied themselves into a community, and such are mercenary needs. Yes, so he's pretty much got like the same view as like most people who kind of have an open mind. It's just like, you know, there's people who really want to judge and articulate and not have an open mind and think of the thought. They just think of the information that's laid upon them and carry that, because new ideas are difficult to, I guess, introduce to oneself sometimes. Excuse me, I'm a human being and I need some water. And such are their mercenary views that unless gentlemen will give away the fruits of their labor, knowledge, excuse me, and learning, their works must be inevitably lost to posterity. I forget what that word means. I'm thinking it's like somebody coming in and changing something, maybe. Like a new country taking over another country and changing the history of a nation, so to speak, to the irreparable damage of the Republic of Literature. Yeah, like the burning of Alexandria that everybody knows about, of course. Thus much the author has thought proper to premise by way of apology for his undertaking come out weekly. Therein particular care will be taken to render it pleasing and agreeably entertaining to every subscriber. The method proposed shall be just and regular, and style familiar, plain and easy, marketed to every capacity and digested in the following manner. So, this guy's really wordy, but he's trying to say he's trying to make it easy to understand, which I guess maybe if you really read at the time, which many people probably did in the 1700s, you probably know a lot of these words or were incited to learn these. Excuse me, I need some more water. My mouth is just dry. Okay, so these are pretty much the table of contents laid out. I'm just gonna go through them. Very nice. So, part 1 contains a description of the Empire of China, wherein Great Tartary will be comprised, being united together by conquest. The kingdoms of Japan, Tonquin, I believe Tonquin is like Cambodia, so if you know where, maybe Laos, maybe. Cochin, China, I'm assuming that's maybe southern China, possibly, maybe central China. Siam, I think is Southeast Asia, maybe like Vietnam, or not Vietnam, but like Thailand and Myanmar? I mean, I think they show a map in this thing actually, so we'll be able to take a look possibly. The Ladrones, yeah, I have no idea. That's a very old word. I've never heard that word in any history book. Philippine Islands, okay. And Makassar and Boina, I'm assuming Banda and the Molucca Islands, with a more full account of barbarous treatment the English met with from the Dutch. So these areas are like, I think, like Indonesia and kind of those Melanesian islands of the sort. Excuse me. With a more full account of the barbarous treatment the English met with from the Dutch. I mean, weren't the Dutch there before the English? I guess they took over. I guess this book has kind of a perspective I see here, political perspective. We can note that when they were expelled, the Spice Islands. That's probably Indonesia. Yeah, Borneo, Java, and Sumatra. The large continent of India described the remarks. Okay, so yeah, England didn't take all that, and England has control of India during that time. Sphere of influence, but I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, and you can only read books that have only so much of a perspective. The large continent of India described, with remarks on the economy of the Great Mughal, an account of the English and other European settlements on the Indian coasts. Okay. Is the Great Mughal like, I'm assuming maybe Mongolia, but it might be different. I don't know, I'd have to double check that. I have to have more resources at my disposal. At the moment I don't. An account of the English and other European settlements on the Indian coast. Likewise, an account of the diamond mines. So there's diamonds that are mined in a lot of Africa, India, I think South America. I'm quite certain. I know India for sure has mined diamonds. Their manner of working therein, and a table of the value of diamonds according to their several weights. Also, well, I think those are crystals that are according to their weight. Also are measured in carats. But I don't know. I can't remember accordingly. I'm not a jeweler. Also the kingdoms of Peru and Arakan. Oh, they're going to include that. Huh, that's interesting. We're going to bundle up Southeast Asia and China and Peru and Arakan and Ceylon as the Far East, because he wants to go east and westward. The island of Ceylon. Being remarkably famous, not Samus, for the best cinnamon in the world. Okay, Ceylon has the best cinnamon in the world. That's cool to know. You probably like cinnamon. The Empire of Persia, with a concise historical account of the revolutions that have happened there, from usurpation of the Merovingians to the late pacification with the Turks and Muscovites. Yeah, so this book, Muscovites are like the Russians, but I don't know if they'll include that possibly. Arabia, they'll include Muscovites, but it'll be not like any type of Russian Empire. So it's gonna be. I don't know where the Merovingians. I'll have to look at that on the map that they provide. Arabia, with their method of traveling through the sandy deserts with their caravans to India. Man, what a time would have lived in those times, in that world. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's crazy. That's just crazy to think about. Excuse me for my language. The fertility and salubrousness of Arabia Felix. I think that's a type of maybe wool, possibly. I don't know. I might be mistaken. I could honestly be mistaken. Like I said, I don't have stuff at my disposal, resources at my disposal at the moment. I will soon. Let's see. The sterility of the Arabia Petra. I'm assuming that's maybe the archaeological site or what have you. Likewise, an account of the Asiatic Tartary and the Turkish dominions in Asia. I gotta look up what that is again. Viz. Chaldea, Assyria, Mesopotamia, Armenia Major and Minor, Syria, Palestine, or the Holy Land, curiosities and sacred relics thereof, amply described, etc. Part 2 contains a description of the Turkish Empire in Europe, wherein their capricious government and the late extraordinary revolutions, the deposing of the Grand Signior, and the other remarkable occurrences are largely treated of. Egypt described, the pyramids, catacombs, and other curiosities so much remarked by travelers, being the footsteps of venerable antiquity and pristine grandeur, with its modern state and conditions are considered. So one thing to consider too, I didn't mention this as well, I will mention this again. Mesopotamia is not called Sumeria. Sumeria was a word that was invented, I think, in the early 1900s. So that word's not gonna, I'm assuming, not gonna be in this book. There's a couple things also in Egypt that are not gonna be mentioned because they haven't been uncovered yet. I'll have to relook at which ones when we get to that. I will remember which areas in Egypt. I just wanted to mention that because it's very interesting. An account of something. I really want to get this word. Crew and Little Tartary. I'm assuming that's like Bulgaria, possibly. I mean, that's probably not what it's called, but like maybe Lithuania, Poland, before it was really called all that. Sorry, I'm writing a little note for myself before. Romania, Greece, the islands of the archipelago, and the rest. Everybody knows about Rome and Greece. Romania, and people don't really know much about the Romanian throne and how important it was between Greece and Persia. And the rest of the Turkish, European, and African dominions. So this is, I think, pre-Napoleon. So these might be under Spanish dominion and possibly Portuguese. Oh, definitely Dutch as well, but I guess we'll have to see. A lot of warfare between the two, multiple countries before England just took over everything. But I think India has a lot of everything possible, England has a lot of everything. I think by this time period, I had to really recall. Sorry. Also, a genuine description of the empires, kingdoms, and states of the remaining part of Europe, with ample relation of their modes of government and what altercations have lately happened in the several parts thereof, and whatever else is remarkably curious and worthy of observation. Part 3 contains a description of the several parts of Africa, the situations and extent of the respective kingdoms and states, the several provinces, each is divided into the principal rivers, lakes, canals, and springs, cities, towns, fortification. Oh my gosh, dude, look at all this freaking... Yeah, let me just... It's like... maybe I'll post like a little gif of like somebody pulling down like a scroll and just keeps going all the way down. It's like, here's your freaking medical bill. Whoops. Jeez Louise. That's funny. Funeral rites, mourning monuments, tombs. Part 4 contains an account of America. So I guess apparently they want to include Peru again. That's interesting, honestly. I wonder why that's there. Contains an account of America as divided into northern and southern. The islands, thereof described an account of the diamond mines lately discovered in Brazil. So yeah, there is some in South America. Damn, they're just like freaking diamond, gold hungry. Look at that. Anybody who got this book would have been hungry for the resources. I don't know. Just wonder they read all these books. History and rarities described, sorry for the jolt. English, French, Dutch, and Spanish settlements. Sorry, I lost my spot. I like to try to keep the mouse on the screen where I'm reading at, so I don't lose. Dutch and Spanish settlements and trade, the gold and silver mines in Mexico, Peru, and Brazil, with their manner of smelting and refining those metals. Likewise, an account of their sugar works, tobacco plantations, indigo works. I don't know what that word is. I don't know what that is. Maybe like a type of flax, cotton trees, and dyeing woods, noted plants, medicine, and drugs, strange animals as beasts, birds, insects, and fishes, and in short, everything else that is worthy the regard of a defatigable traveler are amply and fully described in this largest tract of land. Also, an account of the English South Sea trade and other matters. English South Sea trade. Oh, I wonder if that's like at the Cape by like Antarctica. So one thing they're actually not mentioning is Antarctica. I don't know if that's ever going to be mentioned. I wonder. Not sure why they didn't mention it. Maybe it was a word that I didn't pick up in the previous chapters or parts. As to the geographical parts of this work, the maps will be drawn from the designs of the best and most approved geographies of the age, fair enough, in which will be carefully laid down the latitudes, longitudes, distances, and bearings of the most eminent cities and other places of note from each other, and exactly adjusted to the scale of English miles, and it might be our miles. And for the better illustration of the history, the remarkables will be depicted and ranged border-wise around the maps. Thus, friendly subscribers, I have briefly handled the design method of treating this copious subject, which I hope will be very satisfactory. I shall only add that particular care will be taken to the neatness and correctness of the typographical part on a good paper and character, and that those that desire it may have it printed on a superfine royal paper at an advanced price. Well, so you would have had to pay a pretty penny for this, and would have had to know English. Tell you that. So, I have to excuse some of the racism in here, possibly. It's probably going to be Christian, Judeo-centric, possibly. Not very Islamic-centric. I don't think this guy... Well, he could have possibly knowledge of some ancient text over in the eastern part of the world, I would say. Maybe, possibly. He knows his stuff very well. Alright. I will end this part right here.